today's review is for Don't Fear the Fire. This is a debut kind of dark academia crossed with fantasy novel from Lois Miller. And in this, we follow 18-year-old Scarlett as she's finally old enough to attend Leighton Academy. So this is split into two parts. We've got the male side and the female side, and they go off. It's like a magical academy. They go off to learn how to be mystics. At each kind of equinox, they are tested, and on one of them, they are required to pick soulmates. So there's a deck of cards laid out with the same amount of boys, and each girl picks a card, and they are their soulmate, and then they are bound together for life. So she's been brought up by her aunt. She's led a very sheltered life, and is really excited to go off to this kind of college boarding school to find her feet, make some friends, and have a bit of independence. So everything at the school is as she expected. She's enjoying her lessons, she's made some friends, and then she meets who she believes to be her soulmate, Claude. She's invited to spend the winter solstice break with him and his family. He's also got a sister at the school called Isabella, and his family approach Scarlett and Claude and tell them that they are required to investigate some mysterious goings on at the school. So despite the fact that she's drawn the card for Claude as her soulmate and she's bound to him, she does seem to have this unexplained connection to another boy at the school called Theo, this enigmatic, dark, mysterious boy, and he's left without a partner after the girl that he should have been partnered with is removed from the school. So for the rest of the book, we follow Claude and Scarlett's investigation and discover some shocking secrets. So at first, I did find myself struggling to get fully invested in the story of this. The writing style was kind of a bit disjointed, seemed a little bit uneven in the pacing, and it did take a little while for the plot to find its rhythm. But once it found its rhythm, it was really good. The story began to open up, more characters were introduced, it became more detailed, and it was much more riveting. You became much more invested in it. So one of my favourite parts of this novel was this school that it was set in, Leighton Academy. The author describes the school in really vivid detail. It brings it to life. There's great depth into the Gothic architecture of the school, the kind of mysterious atmosphere. There's all these nooks and crannies, these mysterious passageways. There's all these statues who have quite a sinister origin. And then there's all these rules that they've got to follow as well. And it kind of makes the school very enchanting, but also quite foreboding, and you kind of expect it to be the location of something sinister. There isn't a magic system as such. It's quite straightforward. The way it's described is really easy to understand. It's spells, it's potions, things like that. It is a YA novel, and it very clearly does belong in the YA genre, but it does kind of lean more towards the older side of YA. So because it is based around an 18-year-old, and they've got, there's some kind of deeper themes in there. There's some quite graphic descriptions, and the characters are portrayed with a much more mature outlook, much more mature concerns, and that's why, to me, it feels kind of bordering on new adult rather than YA. Our main character, Scarlett, she's quite an interesting character. She's clearly very intelligent, but her intelligence is very much book smarts and not world smarts. There are points where she's got to make some kind of critical decisions, and she's fairly naive. She pauses, she's a little bit oblivious. You kind of feel like you want to give her a good shake when she misses out on the obvious, and kind of particularly with the relationship with Theo. She's very oblivious to that. It is a very slow burn romance between them, but the tension between them is really well done. And although you do want to scream at her for missing out clear signals from him, this romance is clearly really important to her character development and how she grows as a person. I did find that there was not a lot of time spent on some of the other side characters, and it isn't until kind of much later on in the novel that you start to get any information about Theo, despite him having a pretty integral part. You don't get much information about her friends, about their backgrounds, which I feel like would have added significantly to the story. Overall, it's a pretty solid effort for a debut novel, and without trying to be patronising, you've got to consider it pretty impressive considering the author is only 19 herself. By the end of the book, I was fully invested in Theo and Scarlett's story and their fate, and the conclusion leaves it open for a return to this world if she chooses to. And I rated this 4 stars.